Known that this disclaimer is intended to make it clear any views and or opinions expressed on the Fox Paranormal Chat are just that. Any topics of discussion during a broadcasted show is in no way the exclusive view nor opinion of the host or any web radio network staff. You're listening to the Fox Paranormal Chat on the W.E.B.B Radio Network. And now, Michael and Destiny Fox.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
It's so good to be back this week. We've got some surprises. We've got a story to tell. And as unbelievable as some of this is going to sound, it's all absolutely true. Every bit of it.
Yes.
It's good to have Jessica. She is our co-host.
Glad to be here.
How is the new job going?
I love it. I couldn't complain. And it looks like for now my internet's going to hold up for this. Let's cross our fingers.
There we go. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. It's good to have Michelle with us. It's been a while since you've been on a podcast.
Been a minute for sure. Glad to be here.
Yeah. It's good to see you again. It's good to have Russell with us.
Yes.
Russell is the one who called us out to his home because he found a box and was having
started all this trouble,
activity.
Yeah. Yeah, you started the whole thing.
I'm the troublemaker.
Right, but did you ever think when all this was going on that it would make it to TV?
No,
Isn't that crazy?
Never in 1,000 years.
Have you seen the show?
I have. Very interesting. It was.
Yeah.
They presented it well. I was very pleased with how that was presented.
They really did. Russell was sick during the time that we were filming. Is the reason that he couldn't be a part of it, but he is the biggest part of it. And Russell, you've been writing books. You've been going around to book signings.
It's been busy.
I read your stuff on Facebook. Really fascinating. You have a way with writing stories.
well, thank you. It's a lot of Southern humor in my writing and also in my books, and tends to be the thing that people need after we've come out of the years we've had in the past with pandemics and
yes.
A lot of the troubles in the world that we've had. When you add a little Southern humor into it, it can almost fix anything.
Well, do you realize that the day that we came out to your house was the day that the C word, the pandemic actually truly took off? It was April the 13th, which was a Friday the 13th.
Yes.
And that was the biggest day that everybody was scrambling. And so it was a day for sure.
So we can blame that also on the box.
I remember that because, hey, Youngblood, I remember that because the next day we were like watching people. They were not touching doors.
Yeah.
Everybody was walking around. We went to the store and I'm just opening the door, going right in. And everybody's like using handkerchiefs and napkins. They weren't touching the door. So what did we do? We just went on in, business as usual, and then went to another haunted location.
Went to Waffle House and then went and investigated a couple other places.
We found, we actually went to the crossroads that I'm sure Russell's going to tell us about. But we got a call. We didn't get a call. We got a message from Russell. And he started describing what was going on in his home and what he had found. And he was asking Michael and myself, what do I need to do with this thing? And me and Michael both said, bury it. Just put it back in the ground till we can get there. put it back where you found it. But Russell, what was going on? Tell us the story from the very beginning.
Well, the very beginning, it's what, 4 years ago now this month? Well, February of 2020. So yeah, we're closing in on 4 years, February the 16th. We were out in my yard. We had been in this house for about a year. And we were still doing some things that we wanted to do to the house. We'd worked on the inside, a few things on the outside. Just started on the outside. We'd had a pool put in, just had some palm trees brought in and put at the edges of the pool. And we were out looking for landscape rocks on our property. Our property had a lot of large basketball-sized boulders, rocks laying around that would be good for borders. So that's what we were doing, out gathering some of those. And one of the rocks we turned over exposed a piece of wood. And I'm somewhat of a historian. I like to dig around, and I'm fascinated with finding old home sites. Some that's no longer been there, but sometimes you find the pillars and the foundations of old homes, and I like to dig around for burn pits in those areas. And I thought that's what I'd found. I'd found an old pillar because I knew the land where our house was built was on some old plantation land, and we were actually around the area. I wasn't sure at the time, but I knew that the slave quarters of that area was close to where our house was built. So that's a little backstory to the property. But the rock, when I picked it up, found a piece of wood under it, kind of intrigued me. I thought I'd found something because it did look old, and I could see a little piece of wire sticking from it. So it was me and my wife and my daughter, and we went and got the shovels. We dug it out, and the box was a little bit larger than maybe like a shoe box. Very old, very weathered. You could tell it had some scarring on it from, it looked like it had been wood fired to preserve it. Back 100 years ago, that's how they weathered the wood to preserve it. They took all they would heat it, kind of like they would treat wood today. So that was how they done it back then, with the open fire. So I knew it was something old, and it was sealed with some old wire that had rusted. There was remnants of it remaining, and the box was sealed. I couldn't tell by what, but I could tell there was something that was sealing the box. Turned out to be wax. Well, me being me and historian, I knew that the land that I was on dates back to a lot of history around the Civil War, and this area was an area that Union troops invaded, and they took over a lot of the plantation and farmland to house their troops right before they came and burned the University of Alabama. So we're very close to the university. We wasn't sure what was in it, but we wanted to know, because back then they would hide valuables. They would hide those from the Union troops to keep them from totally robbing them of everything that they had. So I'm thinking, hey, we may have found something of value here. So I'm cracking the box open, and that's when we see the contents.
Well,
I'm sure you might want to get into that. We've
actually got that video we can throw up right now. Bring back memories.
Yes, if I want those. That was
but while,
that started this whole thing.
But while we're going, while we're waiting on that to come up, Teresa says, let me get this straight. It was Friday the 13th. You opened a box that was buried, and then the pandemic hit. Maybe there's a connection, Jessica. What do you think?
I'm blamed for the pandemic.
Yeah, you caused the whole thing, you and that darn box.
Hey, it would not be the first thing I've been blamed for. So.
I don't know. Maybe he can throw that up for us in just a second. We watched it and tested it out. But
there's a very interesting moment in that video. If you do get it to play, I'm not sure the exact.
What if it's another box with money? It'd be old money.
Daddy, you can't see it, hush.
It's a jar. It's glass. I can see that.
Okay, well, get that piece of, cut that piece of wood off. I mean, the metal with the metal cutters.
something under there.
It is. I see it.
If we did find some money, we really.
I want to.
Where it is, they didn't want it to come out. It's wired shut, nailed shut. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they would have buried an animal and wired it shut unless it buried it alive.
Where's your wire cutters?
It's a jar and a cloth.
Oh my. There's something in the jar. And a doll. Oh, there was a doll.
The old doll in there.
Don't touch
That's
anything.
an old jar.
What's in it?
That's an old Atlas jar. Just that jar by itself is worth some money.
Okay.
What is it?
You don't touch that doll,
Mom,
for real.
Mom,
Baby.
I'm not.
Wow. So what was going through your mind, Russell, when this was happening?
A lot. It wasn't what I was expecting to find. Definitely. I knew from the artifacts in it that it had been there for quite a while. Just that jar itself dates back to the early 1900s. I wasn't sure of everything else in there yet. I could see the doll. There's an old cross in there that's held together with I couldn't tell. I thought it was tied together with horsehair twine, which was popular during the time. And you may have dated that. I'm not sure what you did with it and find out what it actually was, but it was very old. The doll, and you may touch on this as you go into it, the nails through the heart area of that doll is kind of what that made my skin crawl. So I knew then it was something somebody wanted to put in the ground and for it to stay there.
We actually did some research that actually took us to the streets of New Orleans. We did not take the articles with us, but we did take it into a lot of voodoo shops, and we would ask people. We had met up with Jeremy Leonard and Tammy, his wife, and we began to ask people in those shops, what does this mean? Can you tell us? They would not answer our questions. They would jump back away from the photo, even the photo of it. I know nothing about this, and they would back up away from it. The doll itself was actually made in
New Orleans.
There was a doll shop there. Yeah. We were able to trace back that this was the late 60s, early 70s, maybe. It would be hard to say it was any further back, but I know that doesn't sound like a long, long time, but 60, 70, 80, 90, over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
We do know that voodoo was still practiced at that time and still is being practiced in your area.
Yeah.
The box, a lot of people ask us, how do you know it was real? How do you know he didn't bury it and then just come up with all this? The one thing that we know for a fact is since the box has been dug up, the items in the jar have deteriorated. What used to be the strap, there's no strap anymore. It's just shriveled up. That is the biggest sign that, yeah, this was in the ground. Air hit it, it started deteriorating. The doll, the clothing on the doll is deteriorating. The box is deteriorating to the point where when people ask us to bring it to Paracons and such, we can only take the doll because we're trying to preserve what's left of the box. So it is legitimate. We also took it to Las Vegas, Nevada, where Michelle cornered off a voodoo priestess and had him come over to our table. I watched that video the other day, And he was like, oh man, this right here, oh man. We did find out too. Oh yeah, and it's still definitely practiced in New Orleans too. um, I took it up to a well-known person who collects haunted objects, and I handed the box out and I said, what do you think about this? He jumped back about 4 feet from it. I don't want to use his name because I don't want him to make him sound silly, but I can tell y'all after the show. I mean, he cleared back and he was saying, oh, no, 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 I'm not touching that. Why are you touching that? And I'm like, he said, aren't you afraid of it? And I said, no, I'm not afraid of it. We do have to have it blessed a lot. We have found that keeping the doll separated from the box keeps everybody healthy at our house. A couple of years ago, maybe close to 3, I was sick. I had the flu. I got over the flu, immediately went into COVID, got over that. It was something else, back to back to back to back. Michelle called me one day and she said, where's the doll? Where's the box? I'm like, well, right now it's at the foot of my bed. And she said, get it out of the house. So we did. We got the box and the doll out of the house. Immediately, I started feeling better in the days ahead. Things are quiet as long as we keep her separated from the box. And my theory on this is, Russell, is I think that with all the articles together, the curse is complete. It's intact. When you separate one of the objects from it, it seems to be calm and quiet.
Well, do you
Kind of remove some of the energy, I guess, some of the
Yes.
what the purpose of all of it being together, I'm sure has a meaning.
Right.
It's not nothing I can comprehend. I don't know as much about it as you guys do, but I'm sure all of those things together mean something.
Do you remember, Destiny, whenever we came back from, I think it was Las Vegas or was it Wisconsin, one of them, where we had her separate from the box, but whenever I pulled her out of the suitcase, it's like her head was turned. We didn't even know her head could turn.
Yeah.
Her head had never turned before. Never.
It's like looking, where's my box?
For safety, we packed towels into, no, I didn't steal them from the motel. I took them with me. We had the towels packed in the box to keep it secure and around the articles in it. And we had wrapped the doll up separate from the box and had her in the little net part of the suitcase going. But coming back, yeah, we did have the box like on the side. We had it covered up real good. And then we had the doll. Michelle opened the suitcase. This doll's head has never turned. All the mud and stuff, we've never cleaned it. It's just like it is, when it came out of the box. And the doll's head was facing the box.
Yeah.
Turned,
wow.
eyes wide open. Her eyes were matted shut, but that's the first time her eyes have been fully opened without us forcing them open. So she can be a bad little girl.
Sounds like it.
We did find a trademark on the doll. That's how we were able to track it to a company that once existed in New Orleans, and they actually manufactured those dolls.
But you started having paranormal activity in the house. I remember a video of the chandelier moving. Your wife seeing figures in the house.
Yeah, I guess the first thing that we noticed, I was up there. I'm an early riser. I was up very early one morning, and I was in a room close to our dining room, doing some studying before work, and I kept hearing the noise come from our dining room. And every time I'd get up to go look, I couldn't find anything. It would sound like something sliding or a shuffling, and I was thinking maybe our outside cat had snuck in, which had happened before. We go out, leave the door cracked a little bit, just run out to get something, and come back in, and our little kitty would sneak in. So that had happened. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, the cat's, if I never could find it. But I kept hearing this over and over and over again. I guess I got up 3-4 times without seeing anything. So the only thing I had to try to catch this with whatever was in my house was the camera on my phone. So I set it up on the bar in our kitchen and shined through the archway going into our dining room. And I just hit record, and I recorded probably an hour or more of footage of the dining room. And when I got ready to go to work, I grabbed my phone, looked through a little bit of it, didn't see anything, scanned through, I think maybe 2 or 3 times normal speed just to kind of get through, and didn't really notice anything. And something told me a few days later to go back and watch it in normal speed. And off and on throughout the day, when I have a little time, I would watch 5 or 10 minutes of it. And I got about 45 minutes into this thing, and I saw some movement. First, I seen our chandelier. I noticed it moved because of the shadows on the wall, and you could see the glare from the bulbs. First, you think maybe the air had kicked on and moved the chandelier, but you just have to be there. I think you guys tried when you came to the house. You tried to lift the chandelier. The chandelier weighs about 42 pounds. It would take a lot of wind to move it. It's a big, heavy cast iron chandelier, but it didn't just move. It didn't sway. It turned. You would physically have to hold the bottom of that and actually turn your hand to get that to move in that direction, the way it moved. There's no, I've tried all kind of ways to get it to move like that, and I can't, other than putting my hand at the bottom and twisting my wrist. So I caught that first, and I was really focused on that. And a few seconds after that, something else caught my eye, which was a vase, a centerpiece vase that was on our dining room table, and it moved about 3 inches. And then it moved again very quickly, about another 4 inches. And that was the first signs that we've seen. Now, I think you have that video. I don't know if it's available to play or not, but it's very...
I didn't send it to Stan. The only one that I sent him was the one that opened the box. And I'm sitting here the whole time you're talking about this, wishing that I had sent it to him.
I can still see it the first time I watched. Yeah.
But yeah, that was... I've done everything I can to try to rationalize how that happened, and I can't. And to my knowledge, it hasn't happened again. It was a one-time thing. Now, I've heard noises before, but I haven't caught anything. I heard noises since and haven't caught anything. And I guess it was right time, right place with that one. Over an hour of video for about less than a minute worth of activity that I had to look for. But it was the video itself. I'll see if I can send you a new copy of that when we're done, so you can put it up on your page. It's just remarkable to see that happen. I'd never witnessed anything like that in my life, and haven't since.
Yeah, I think when we did the investigation at your home, I actually tested the chandelier, and I agree, it's a very heavy chandelier.
Yes,
it would take a lot of force to move it.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, and I remember you telling us your wife had seen a shadow over her bed, maybe. She's
had a few things happen since we've opened the box. We've every member of the house have heard voices in the house, and it come during the quiet time of the night when someone would think a TV was left on or something. They would get up, nobody be there. Just a murmuring of a voice. You really can't make out words. We've all heard that. One of the most intriguing moments came one night. Was getting ready for bed, and I was already in our bedroom, and my wife Christy started to come to bed, and she spoke to Emily, my daughter, and said, "Emily, it's time to go to bed." And she was coming into our room when she said that, and I said, "Well, Emily's already in bed." She said, "No, she's hiding behind the door. She's trying to jump out to scare me. You're not going to get me with this." No, she's not there. And she pulled the door back. There was nobody there. And what she saw was a small child about the size of her then 12-year-old daughter. Just a shadow figure because it was dark. But she was peering out from behind the door. She said it was just as plain as if she was talking to me in that room. And the child, when she saw her, ducked back behind the door like she was trying to hide. And it was no longer there. When she looked behind the door, there was nothing there. Now she's caught that image out of the corner of our eye before. We all have. We've all seen movements in our peripheral that makes you think something's there, but we just can't really, focus when we turn. It's not. There's just always that eerie sense of being watched in the house.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a few days ago, actually, we've been very, very quiet. Haven't had much activity at all. Nothing that we couldn't explain. But just a couple of weeks ago, I noticed something, a dark object move across our dining room table, or across our dining room floor under our table. And again, thought it was something that got in the house, and went to look for it. Nothing there. Me and my wife were watching TV later that afternoon, and we kept hearing footsteps throughout the house. And we have carpeted floors. The only footsteps that would be obvious would be in our dining room or our entryway into the house. So we kept hearing footsteps, and again, we saw the little small, very small, shadowy figure. And this would be smaller than a child. I'm talking maybe a pet type image, and it darted down the hallway. Just little things like that. It's one of those where you think your mind's playing tricks on you, and you really don't know if it didn't. I don't know what I've seen. I just know that since we've opened that box, we've had things happen that we can't explain.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is she's never had any trouble with sleeping, and one night she had what we've heard is called sleep paralysis. She was physically held down in bed one night, and as soon as my daughter touched her, she nearly sprang up, sit straight up. She was trying to get up so bad and couldn't. So she's never dealt with that until this has happened. So we've had some things happen since the box was presented.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we were
explain.
able to validate a child. The EVPs that we got,
Yes.
one of them spoke mama, best I
Yes.
remember.
I
Well,
remember that.
in the bedroom, myself and another team member, we even heard it with our ears, the giggle. So we was able to actually hear that and called it on recording as well.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Keyword giggle.
Yeah.
So we do have the objects stored on our property now. We did have them off property, but for the TV show, we had to go check on them, and we went out another time to check and make sure it was in a location, because Russell was having some feelings about it. We went and checked on it, and then we brought it back here. We thought this may be the safest place. That way we know what's going on with it. So it'll stay with Michael and I from now on. In the building that we have it stored in is actually at the church. So we were having church one Wednesday night, and all of a sudden, not a lot of people on Wednesday nights, but we heard a little girl giggle.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded like it was coming from the foyer of the church. So we go, pastor goes to the foyer, I go to the fellowship hall. We do have a loft upstairs. It's a room, it has a glass that it could be used for a balcony, but we just use it for storage. And he goes up there because he's like, somebody is squatting in this church. There's somebody has snuck in here, and they're staying here in this church. We searched every room, no little girl. A couple of Wednesday nights later, Wednesday seems to be her popular time. There was a sound came out of one of the speakers at the front, and you couldn't see it, but you could see the energy. It came out of the speaker like some kind of ball. It hit the wall. You could hear it hit the wall to the side.
Mm-hmm.
It bounced again on another wall, and then you could hear it and sense it as it flew out of the sanctuary, followed by a little girl giggle.
Wow.
Ronnie and myself were in the church. We store some stuff here, and we came over to get it. Big Ronnie, one of our team members, and there's a little hall that goes from the fellowship hall outside, and we heard a little girl giggle. Well, he's like, I said, yeah, that happens all the time. He said, no, there's somebody in here. Somebody is in here. So he goes and he opens the door that's to the right of us. This room's empty. There's no other door. I said, yeah, I told you this happens all the time.
Yeah.
Just today, one of my team members that lives in a house here on my property, he said, I was looking out the window and I saw a little girl. Matter of fact, I screenshot what he said. I sent it to Michelle and Jessica, and he said it scared the out of me, and he described it. And that's not unusual for here. We hear a little girl talking in our house in the hallway. All this started when we brought the box in. So
Been caught that on the what do you call it? I just lost my train of thought. Remember holding my hand up in the room with the glass in the loft of the church.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
We had the SLS, and we felt like there was a little girl up there, so we come over and brought the SLS. Y'all don't tell Pastor. We brought the SLS camera over here, which is the camera that shows the stick people looking through the tablet lens. And actually, we saw a figure about waist high to Michelle.
Yeah, we did.
And it looked exactly like this child stick figure was trying to hug Michelle around her waist. So we do have.
I think Jessica, she stayed overnight here at the church several times, and she's reported hearing a little girl's voice. And I think her daughters have heard it too.
Yeah, when Jessica and her girls and her little grandson come and visit us, they stay in a room that we fixed up at the church because my house is full. I have so many people there, and I love them every one. But the inn is full now. No more. We're full. No vacancy. Except for Jessica can come and stay in the church anytime she wants to. She actually heard a little girl giggle the next morning in the condensation at the front door of the church. There were children's handprints on the glass. Her grandson is infant age. There's no way he could have, not even walking at the time. I don't know about now. No way he could have done it. And he was the only child here.
Yeah.
But lots of experiences here, and it's since bringing the box in. One thing, Russell, we took the box for Jeremy Leonard, the Cajun demonologist, to see it. We did an investigation in Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. So we had forgot the doll. I asked Michelle. I told her where it was. We had left some recorders or something too, and we had called and asked Michelle to come get the box so that we could take it to Tennessee with us. And she stopped by and got it. And then the strangest thing happened to her. You remember what happened?
I do. So you have that box wrapped up, like completely wrapped up, and then it's put in a construction styled black bag that should be almost puncture proof.
Very thick.
So I go and pick up this daggum box, and it cuts me, like, pricks my finger. So I get in the truck and I call Destiny. I'm saying, your box just cut me. Like, no reason that I can think of logically that I should have been cut by this box. But it did. It pricked my finger.
Right. No holes in the
no holes in the bag,
the wire or anything. Yeah. But when you think about it, what is the one thing that seals a deal when you're doing a spell on something or you're placing a curse on something, something demonic, what is the one thing that you need to seal the deal?
Blood.
Blood.
She got
And
me.
since then, everything was good until that one point, Russell, when it got blood on it.
Wow.
That's when everything became active again. And we did find out there's a lot of things associated with the curse that was put on the box. For one, and we really hadn't talked to tell you all the stuff we found out. There were different designs carved into the box, in the bottom of the box, on the side of the box, the one Egyptian eye. And for some reason, when we were thinking of a name for the box, I'm like, Levada. I don't know why I chose that name. I know nobody by that name, never heard that name before. To me, it sounds like a Creole kind of Cajun name. Um, or, I don't know if that's the right words to use, but it sounds like somebody from voodoo name to me. Later, we found out that some of the magic that was used on the box is Levian.
It's
So
called
that
Levian
kind of
magic.
made
Yes.
sense, me naming the doll Levada. After we first brought the box home, Michael and I were right in the middle of a demonology class. And we actually shared pictures of the box. We did a little video showing the class what was inside. It started affecting me pretty bad. I dreamed like 2 nights in a row, a young black woman, and she had on a skirt down to her ankles. I remember the shoes were like penny loafer type shoes. She had on socks, like bobby socks. She had on a white shirt with a collar that was rounded, a button up white shirt, and she had a sweater on.
Mm-hmm.
The sweater was like a bluish grayish color, like school uniform type. And in both dreams, she said, just take it back, put it back, just put it back. Please, just take it back, put it back. And I was thinking when I woke up, I can't take it back because I don't think he wants it back. But yeah, I don't know. But I started feeling sorry for whoever done this and the reason that they felt that they had to do something like this. I would take flowers out. We didn't bring the box in the house for a long time. It actually sat at our garage door outside. One reason being it was still muddy. And so we left it out there. I would take flowers out and lay on the box. And so when I realized what I was doing, then I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I can't fall into this. And so I snapped out of that. We actually did a binding with a friend of ours. She sent me the materials to try to bind this thing up, and consisted of stones, yarn, just different articles. And she taught me through on the phone how to bind this up, but it didn't stay bound. When we get the opportunity, we always take it to Jeremy and let him seal this thing again. And you have to do it ever so often, or things just start happening bad. It's not a coincidence. It's legit stuff that starts happening around the house.
But it's
I do.
odd that you mentioned what kind of brought that back up to you. If you remember months ago, I emailed you and say, hey, just curious, where's the box? Because I just had, some feelings about it and had been dreaming about it. You could probably go back and look at those messages I sent you, just, hey, out of curiosity, where's it at? Because I've been dreaming about this box just nightly. One of the dreams that I had was, it was a reoccurring dream where a lady was bringing me the box and setting it down in front of me, and you described her to a T.
Wow.
When you
I've got
when you
chill
said that,
bumps.
yeah, that was. You can go back and look at our messages. That was months ago, and I think I told you
Hmm.
that in the messages that was exactly what I was seeing. That was she was just bringing it back to me and sitting it down, and that was just a reoccurring dream I had for I don't know, just not every night, but for I guess 3 or 4 nights out of a 2 to 3 week span. I had that same reoccurring dream, and that's when I sent you the message.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Since then, though, I have it's back on the property. It won't leave the property again because I feel like it seems like that. I really feel like it's the woman who had this done that put the curse on the box. But I also believe it was more than one person. There's too much. There's too much magic involved in it. Too many articles. It's just. I would say everyone who did this knew exactly what they were doing over and beyond. For real, it's just so much connected to that. All the carvings, the bone, even and down to that bone. And I sent a picture of that bone to a friend of mine who is a investigator for the local county that I live in, and to see if she could possibly tell us, hey, do you think this is human? Do you think it's an animal bone? What do you think this is? And she said, well, without testing it, I can't tell you. And she said, we can't test it because if we test it and it shows up human, then it's going to
They're
be a
gonna come
lot.
dig my yard up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we're not going to have it tested. We're not going to do that. We've had some people tell us that it actually looks like a turkey leg or something. Some people have said chicken. I think it's too big for a chicken, so that we will never know what that bone belongs to.
Yeah.
For all of our sakes, we would have a lot of explaining to do, y'all.
Yeah.
Every time you move, it like zooms in on me. Hold your drink in your hand. It looks funny. Bend over. Bend
What?
over. Look at this. Now lean back up. Okay, Destiny's playtime. But so much has happened. My
One of the
son had an
stories that
experience.
I'm sorry. One of the
No,
stories,
go ahead.
you're mentioning the giggling, little girls and everything, and my wife had seen the image of what appeared to be a little girl. That all revolves around the history of that land with one of the little slave children that went missing on that land. That actually led also to her mother's disappearance on that land. It's one of the old. You can look it up under the Maxwell Crossings haunted history and find some of those stories about that child going missing.
And for some reason, I really feel like this box is connected to that story. I mean,
I've always wondered that.
I just can't shake it.
Yeah.
It and if something like that happened, I pretty much don't blame the person that did this.
Yeah.
You've got to feel sympathy for them because they were seeking revenge, and it's bad they felt they had to do that, but it makes you understand better why they did it, if that is the reason that this box was constructed.
Yeah.
So
I've never once, with any of the experiences we've had, I've never once felt a negative energy. I've never, it actually is opposite. Anytime we'd have something like that, I'd feel a very positive energy in the house. It's always been a happy and not a sad occurrence.
Well, even some of the evidence that we found at the house seems to relate back to the stories as well. The giggling and the crying out for mama. It all seems to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
there was somewhat of a resolve could have taken place if you watch the TV show Repossessed, season 1, episode 2, I can't dive into this right now. It's still pending airing on the History Channel. But if you watch the show, you'll get a little more in depth. There was an attempt for a resolve in this. After the TV show, things went a little crazy here. So, I don't know what happened. It was like,
Yeah.
it was showing its displeasure to us. We would come over to this building, and it was like negative. It was almost like no, you exploited us. You exploited me. That's the kind of feeling that I got when I walked in. And so I'm sorry. I just thought you had a story that needed to be told. And I find myself talking to this doll a lot. She doesn't answer me. I'm not losing it. But I do want to show her to you and the audience that's watching. This is Levada. She doesn't quite look like she did when we did the TV show. But this is Levada. You can see the nails in her chest. This is a rosary that I had blessed that we keep around her. Also, when we take her out, she has a little case that we put her in and set her on our table. And you can see that her clothes are starting, Michelle, to get real bad.
I hate
Yeah.
that.
So what our plans is that we're going to have a glass case made for the box and the doll. We are going to retire these items, and they'll stay in that glass so that what's left of these articles will stay preserved. So, she does have earrings. We found similar to this exact doll. Oh, there we go. We have found similar on eBay of this doll. There is a tag inside the dress that says manufactured in New Orleans. It was not intended to be a voodoo doll or anything like that. I forget the name of it. I'll have to relook it up. But this is Levada.
Russell, how's it feel seeing it again after all this time?
It's each time that I go back and look at the pictures, it brings me back to that day when I first seen it. It's all new again, to be honest with you. But again, I almost feel empathy for the doll. And for whatever reason, I don't know why,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, I feel like that. I don't know that there's a child involved in this, but I almost feel like that child is attached to that doll, and I think that might be why some of the things that we've noticed in the house and the giggling and the shadows and things like that. I almost feel like that they're connected somehow, and I don't know.
Yeah.
This is way beyond my comprehension. This is I write books. I write.
Yeah, I'm
write
going to have to
Christian
put her
books.
down. I've got
And,
electricity coming through. I'll pick her back up
Yeah.
later. It's like little.
I know a lot of the people.
Michelle knows
A lot
what
of
I'm
the people
feeling.
we've showed her to at the different events we've gone to across the country. I know Josh Gates. He really felt a lot of energy off her. He actually
took pictures.
He
of
took
her.
pictures of her with his phone. So
yeah.
And
There's
he
definitely
said he
something
could
going on
tell.
there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is still. She's still active. I mean, just holding her, it was just like shivers all over. Kind of like stick your finger in a little electrical thing. I mean, just
Yeah.
yeah. She still has some stuff, and she loves Aunt Michelle.
My little sister.
My son had an experience with her. We were in Virginia, and he is like when we go to Paracons, he makes sure that the doll's safe, that we're safe. He calls himself our bodyguard. And he would, he, at the time, he was in charge of making sure the box got to our table, that the box was never left alone and its contents. And he was also the one in charge of making sure that it got back in the vehicle and it was stored good. And he said that nothing was loose in the box. He said it was all packed up tight. And, you know, if you saw the video, you can see if all the articles that were in the box, there's no room for that doll to roll from side to side and make a ruckus. He said just as he went to put the doll in the back of the van that we were in, the doll rolled real hard and hit the side of the box and made a thump. He said, Mama, there's no way that was possible. And he said, I'm not touching it again. He said, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not touching her again.
Yeah.
And he didn't, that I remember.
Yeah. We've had a lot of psychics over several events we've been at look at it too.
Yes,
and they've given us a lot of feedback what their feeling off of the doll is.
And even before we tell them the story of the box and the doll, they all say, I there's a child.
Yeah. Every single one of them sensed a
That's
child.
like the first thing they say is, I sense a child.
Well, I feel the same thing. I mean, you know, I told you from the start when I dug it up, I think that somehow it's tied to a child.
I really believe that. Hey, Georgianne, High Desert, California. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. I mean, everybody that's viewed the doll or tried to do a reading off the doll has, you know, came back pretty much with the same story. And,
so do you feel, I don't know, I mean, this is just me thinking outside the box, but taking the doll out of the box, is it removing the doll from the negative energy? I mean, it seems like the doll creates more of a positive type energy, and the box itself contains something a little darker or a little deeper.
Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, the box contains the articles, the initials, the bone. It has the satanic symbols on it. I think it's like you said, it holds the negative energy.
Yeah.
You know, think of the symbols that's on it, the Egyptian eye, inverted crosses carved into it. As it started to deteriorate, we put baby powder on the top of it to seal in the creases. Yeah. There are so many symbols that were carved into this wood. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah. And I only knew of the two that, you know, when I gave it to you, you could see two very plainly that was on top of the box. But I didn't know the other ones.
In the bottom, on the side, in the walls.
On the sides, it's almost surrounded with symbols.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, and wow. So, I never knew that.
Yeah, we didn't either. I mean, I was trying to show somebody a picture of the symbols. It was when we were trying to research and find out what all the symbols meant. Yeah. I thought, well, the best way to do it is we'll rub baby powder all over the box. And that's what we did. And so the baby powder began to fill in all the creases, and then you could see them very plain. You could see those symbols plain as day.
Yeah.
So there were several.
So whoever done this, they probably was not the first time, and they really knew what they were doing. This was not someone, as I guess as some has thought, may have been a hoax or something. This would have been somebody that really knew what they were doing when they put this together.
It appears somebody really wanted to hurt someone or someone's family.
Of course they did. There were articles, the jar, if you watched the video earlier, the jar that Russell took out of the box when he found it, it had earrings, it had brooches, it had a watch band, there was a pipe. You know, all kind of articles.
A compass, not a compass to go north and south. I'm talking about a compass for
Yeah, like you'd put a pencil in and draw that circle around.
That was also in the jar.
They always made us buy one for school, and we never used darn thing.
Right.
But it was always on the list. But yeah, and that has to have significant meaning. I mean, I don't know what, but there's a reason for every article being in there. And we didn't know if it was a rifle strap, but we had somebody tell us that the strap that was in there was actually a sharpening strap, where they would sharpen the little razors, the little straight blades.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's more than likely what that was. There's nothing left of that now. It's all, if you picture maybe a piece of beef jerky, you know, if you leave it out in the sun, it's going to shrivel up and all. That's pretty much what it looks like now. The jewelry is still intact.
How tight that box was. Everything on it was sealed, even though the age of it. I mean, it definitely had some, you could tell by the mud and things in it. It had some weathering to it and water had got into it, but that box was hard to get into.
Yeah, and it was buried at the foot of a tree. That has significant meaning.
I think those roots probably exposed it. It was right against the root.
Because when we redug it up and we began to, it was Mark and Pam with us. And as Mark began to dig that up, he hit a root and he thought maybe that, you know, there was something else underneath there. Yeah. But the roots, as the tree grew, the roots coming to the surface just pushed it up to the top.
Yeah, I suspect it was probably originally buried a lot deeper. And over the years, as the tree grew, the roots kept bringing it closer and closer to the surface.
It was never meant to be found.
Yeah.
No, leave it up to me.
Never meant to be found. I actually had a reading done over the box with somebody, and this lady went a lot in depth. The first thing she said was she sensed the spirit of a child, and she basically began to tell the story as you told the story to us. The story of the child that the slave owner more than likely impregnated, let her off in the woods, murdered her, and threw in front of a train or whatever. She said there was death involved with this. She said like a child, and I thought, and you haven't even heard the story. The TV show wasn't even out yet, you know, and for so many people to hit this, you know, and just about tell us the story, it's just amazing. It's amazing.
The box is telling its own story, it sounds like.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. Filming with the TV show with it was okay. We began to tell everybody about the box. Nobody, let's see, in the show was Lee Triana Brown, Mo, and Marika. They never saw the box until we opened it to show them. And it was like the looks on their faces were crazy. They were just like shocked to see such a thing, and you could tell. There is a point of investigation in there, and I won't say too much because I don't want to give too much of it away. But if you'll go watch it on Hulu, during the cleansing that was attempted on the box then, we started having paranormal activity and very strong activity when they were blessing the box.
Yeah, pretty much all heck broke loose.
All hell broke loose. I'll just go ahead and say it. And of course, the show didn't show everything that was going on around us. Pretty much it didn't die down after that. Hey, Mercedes, love you. It didn't die down right after that. It took a while. Yeah. It took a while. And I really believe it was showing us its displeasure for all that going on, because there was sort of a ritual done around the box. And I think at that point is where maybe the child got released from the box and the doll,
Yeah.
and the reason that she's here.
I think
Could be.
I think for
Could
the
be.
TV show, I did go in some detail on some of the history behind it
You
that
did.
they aired, that. So anybody that watches the show, if they watch that segment, I go through a lot of the history, talk about the doctor, and, some of the things that were said happened.
Oh, Tampa Bay. My dad lived in Tampa for quite a few years. I love Tampa.
I lived there for a short time when I first got out of the military.
Thank you for
There
watching.
we go. That's where I'm from.
Yeah, my dad owned a bar right on the bay. I think it was called Papa's Place. It's been quite a few years ago.
Yeah, but and the production team, when they were filming, they were sensing things around the box too. They were coming, off camera and telling me, "Did you feel this or did you hear that?" And at that point, we're kind of used to it a little bit because we've had possession of the box now for so long. And I said, "Yeah, that's usually what happens." And several of them said they thought they heard a child giggle.
Yeah.
That was Lisa watching from Tampa.
So, that's interesting how so many different people have gotten the same vibe from the box and from the doll.
Exactly. So if you've just started watching the live stream, we're talking about the Hex Box, and it was featured on Repossessed Season 1, Episode 2. Michael, myself, and Michelle were in that episode with the box that Russell found. Russell is the original finder of the box. It was found on his property. And you can go back and listen to the beginning of this podcast. He tells his story. Repossessed Season 1, Episode 2, Cave Spring episode. On into that episode, we begin to tell the story of Loveda and the Hex Box. So yeah, it's definitely a fascinating story. A lot we can't tell you because the show is aired on Hulu, but it's coming out sometime this year on History Canada.
And was it
It can-
Apple
It can
TV?
be seen on Apple TV and on Disney Plus. So
Yes, Apple.
there's lots of ways to get this show. So make sure you watch it. We're sad that Russell wasn't able to do any of this with us. Well, I kept saying, "Okay, here's his number. Y'all got to call him. He's got the story. It's so good. It's so good." But he wasn't able to come to us, and they weren't able to get to him for this. So, if there's ever another opportunity, it's going to be mandatory. I promise you, it's going to be mandatory. We've all got to be together on this. And there could be another opportunity. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I hated. I felt like I let you guys down with.
You
no,
didn't. You didn't.
I really wanted to. I had, the battle I've been in, but
Yes.
everything's looking great. I will publicly tell you that if you're listening and don't know, I've been in about a 2-year battle with cancer, but everything is looking wonderful. Everything's looking great, and I think I'm near the end of that.
Yes, you've been in our prayers daily.
A lot of prayer for you.
Yes.
Our church and different, prayer groups that we're in and things. So, yeah, a lot of prayers. I want to have a question. Have you ever heard of skinwalkers, and what do you think? Well, I have heard of skinwalkers. I actually know someone who seen a skinwalker. Happens to be a member of our team. When he was a child, his mother had taken in this guy, and I think he lived out in the yard in a shed. And his mom had always told him You need to stay away from him. Mind your own business. Don't bother him. And so I'm not going to call the name. And so as a kid, he said, you know, he kind of minded his own business and all. But he said one day he was outside and he looked out to where this man was staying. And he said he watched this man change from a man into a large cat. And he said he just stood there and couldn't say a word. So for years and years and years, he never said anything about this, not to his mother, not to anyone. So as an adult, he said, I finally told my mom, I need to know what I saw one day. And she said, well, what did you see one day? He said, I saw that man turn into a cat. And he said, she hesitated and said, so you saw that? And he said, yeah. She said, well, some things you just can't unsee. And that was the end of it. Like she was giving confirmation, like she knew this. She actually knew this was happening. Um, I really haven't personally dealt with any kind of skinwalkers, but I do know yet another person. When you're in the paranormal field, you meet different kinds of people. And in her young teenage years, she had fallen into an occult. And she didn't know at the time, but they were prepping her to become something big in this occult. So they prepped her, you know, and they finally told her it was time. And an entity came during the middle of the night and stood at the foot of her bed and sort of engulfed her. And she said she felt it go inside of her. But I don't think she felt it stay. The next thing that they want her to do is they want her to get her nephew, which was a young 2-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted her to take that 2-year-old nephew of hers and bring him to them, and she had to sacrifice that nephew. Of course, she didn't do it. That's when she began to back out of that. But she did claim to be able to change into different things during that time. That she would turn into different animals and such. And, you know, it's hard not to believe this because I know these people and they're not prone to lie. And it's just like fascinating stories. And, you know, we've watched the Skinwalker Ranch. You know, we have seen different shows on TV where I remember one where something's climbing up the side of a mountain. It begins to change shapes and forms, and he's videoing it the whole time. You can't see completely exactly what it is, but you can tell that as this is moving up the side of the mountain, that it's changing shapes. Like it went very long, and then it began to get round and just different things. So even though I have not had experiences, I do believe. I do believe. Do y'all have thoughts on skinwalkers?
I think there's a lot out there that we don't understand. I don't,
Yes.
Isn't
you
that
know,
the truth?
you know, a lot of people say that that seeing is believing, and just because you don't see something don't mean it exists. I just recently wrote a blog about, you know, during the daytime we can look up into the heavens, we don't see the stars. That don't mean they're not there. It takes the
Right.
light going out to produce them. I think that there's a lot of things that's gone undiscovered. This is a big world. It's a deep ocean. It's a mighty sky, and I
Yes.
think that you know, with modern technology and the world getting smaller with cameras being everywhere, I think a lot of new things are going to come to light, and I think that we're going to be really surprised by what's really out there in this world.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, I've been investigating the paranormal for a very long, long time. And just when you think you know it all and you've experienced everything there is to experience in the paranormal, something new comes along.
Oh, yeah.
Just absolutely
Yeah.
floors me. Um,
It does.
the things that people tell us, and you know, I remember first getting into the paranormal. It was thrill seeking. I mean, it was fun. Um, the adrenaline rush, and you know, the first in well, sort of an investigation. Michael and I sort of first date was he took me to a cemetery to hunt ghosts. We actually went in there and around the wood line. I mean, it was crazy. The cemetery background were people who practiced voodoo in Montgomery, Alabama, would go into the cemetery. They would do their rituals. They were known to dig up graves, human bones laying around, very old cemetery. And in the back in the wood line, I was seeing shadow people darting out everywhere. And I'm like, Michael, did you see that? Michael. And I know he got so tired of that. But I was so fascinated with it. I do think shadow people are real. I definitely do. I've had experiences with shadow people.
Oh, we've caught them on video.
Yes, we have
We've caught
video of shadow
people on
people.
video.
Michelle's seen shadow people. Her
Oh,
first shadow people. I remember her first.
I actually think we had a shadow person at Russell's house when we did that investigation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do believe shadow people are real.
Yes.
I think it's just another transition or form after, you know, you transition yourself from the world that we're in right now. You're moving on, and it's just maybe a way that you could show yourself. It's not fully showed, but, you know, maybe just a shadow of who you really are.
Now, whether all of them are good or not, I don't know. I have seen shadow people that, you know, raise some question in my mind. Is this thing here to hurt me or not? And, you know, you've got this feel when you're around certain things, like some things you're around, you know, they're going to harm you. And then some things you feel safe around. We have one in our house. It's been there for years. When we first moved in, my son is 26 now. He was 5 months old when we moved in that house. And he'll even tell you growing up, you start down the hall, a shadow figure would dart from the hall into one of the rooms like it didn't want you to see it. And we're like, well, we saw you anyway. It'd be a different room in the hall, long hall, the hall of the house. And Michael and I actually are living in that house now. We don't see that shadow person darting anymore, but for years and years, we lived there before. We bought a house in Temple, and before we moved into the house in Temple, it would come and it would peep around the door in at us.
Yeah.
I mean, you would catch it just, and then when you'd look up, you could see it go like, oops, I think they saw me. And then you'd wait a little while, and then it would be. And then when you catch the shadow out of your peripheral, then, you know, you look and it would dart back, but not fast enough that you couldn't see it moving back behind the door. We haven't seen that in a while either.
No.
It's been a long time.
No.
There was a time that Michael and I, we've got till 9 or a little after. Michael and I were supposed to do a podcast with a local podcaster here. Michelle will remember this. And I had the splitting headache, just migraine. And I had taken a leave and this and that, and it just wouldn't go away. So I told Michael, I said, you know what, go in the building next door, meet with him. You do the podcast. I just can't. I cannot do this. I really just cannot do it. And it was just horrible to the point where my vision was blurred. At this point in time, I had the box at the foot of the bed. I think it's around the time I began to get sick too, wasn't it, Michelle? Okay, so it was at the foot of the bed, the doll intact, everything in the box. What had happened was I got up off the side of the bed and I go in the living room. and I looked. I got a customer texting me to run their payment from work. We're closed. So I lost train of thought. I go in the living room, and then on our DVR system, our security monitor, I'm looking, and there's this white object trying to get to the bedroom window from outside. On the TV show, they briefly showed some of this, but Russell, this went on for about 20 or 30 minutes.
I think it was.
Wow.
Michael is over at the building next door, and he's doing the podcast with the local podcaster. And, you know, I'm sitting there watching that. Michael comes in, and then I'm like, Michael, look at this. Come here. What's going on? And being the professional ghost hunters that we are, we never thought to go outside and look at it. We're just watching it on the monitor. No, not professional. That's exaggerating. That was a joke. But this thing went on for 20 minutes. And so I actually called Michelle. I FaceTime with her. And I said, you got to see this. And she said, what is it? And I said, it's something we caught on the DVR. When did you catch it? I said, you're watching live. This is going on in my front yard as we're watching this. And we sat and watched it for a long time. And it was taking the form, actually, part of it sometimes looked like it was holding a box. And it was almost like it was trying to reunite with this. Like, I don't know, I got the feeling it had been separated somehow, but it was trying to get back to it. And if y'all know me, I do house cleansings like you would not believe, and they are powerful. So around my property, I've got my little protection line. Nothing evil is getting in my house, except for the ones that already live there. I'm just kidding. But it would go to that line, and it couldn't penetrate through it. It was like it would back up, and then it would run to it, and it was like it was running into a brick wall. One day I'm going to email you that whole thing, Russell.
Oh, wow.
It started
I'd love
out.
to see that.
Yeah.
The part that we didn't see is it started from across the road, and it was a little light that bounced from across the road into the front yard, and then it bounced, and then it disappeared. But if you count the timing that it was bouncing when you first saw it, it ends right in that spot. Except it's not a little ball of light anymore. It just goes.
And it looked like it was trying to go straight to the room that we were keeping the doll in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember too, though, that with it being in the yard, the bugs that was out are veering around it? Like it would, the bugs beeline towards it, and all of a sudden it was like whoop, right around it. So there was a physical area there.
We have shown that video to so many people and professional videographers. I mean, people who film for movies, people who know what they're doing, professionals. They have no explanation for what that was.
Wow.
I mean, you could see the little bugs flying around. They would actually go around this. They were not flying through it. They were going around it.
And there was times that the entity would actually pulsate, like it had its own light. It was pulsating.
It would brighten up, and then it would dim down, and then all of a sudden, poof, it disappeared.
Yeah.
It was gone. Just like it showed up, it just disappeared.
But you could see it dissipate. Like it was just like particles.
Yeah, it just kind of fades out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, and I really think it was something trying to get reconnected with the box. Maybe it lost some kind of connection from the time it lost your property to here, and it's like, I finally found you.
You know, you mentioned it kind of took on the shape of someone like maybe be carrying the box. That was exactly what you described was my dream.
Like it was holding something in its hands.
Yeah, the lady that was presenting me with that box in my dream every night
Yeah.
After
There's
after
times
we sent it off with you, it was just so real. I'd wake up feeling like that I'm looking for that lady. Where did she go? That's how real it was. And she'd bring me that box and set it down at my feet every night, but not say anything. And when I messaged you, I was like, okay, what's going on? Because I'd never experienced anything. I was totally clueless in this subject. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. Well, we've went through some stuff having it here with us. And I basically told you the highlights. There's some little things that goes on, like hearing a popping at the box if it's sitting around. I've heard like a little, not as hard as a tap, but a little, slight little knock, like something tiny hitting it. I've heard that. The doll itself, I talked to it and I'm like, okay, now we're going to take you here and I want you to be a good girl. I don't want you. So we take this. Let me tell you what we did. So we took her to Connecticut with us, to the Warrens Paracon. We take her to the Warrens Paracon last October. Okay. Keep in mind, they brought the museum to the Paracon. You had Annabelle, the real Annabelle. Okay. You had all these other objects that the Warrens had stored. And so it didn't dawn on me until we actually get there and I've got the doll on the table and I'm thinking, oh my God, just on the other side of that curtain is Annabelle. I said, I sure hope nothing attaches to her. So, I was seriously concerned because I didn't want to be bringing anything back, or anything negative attaching to her and then bringing her home. And she would be the perfect object if a spirit was roaming. Well, hey, look at this. Let's just catch up and be with this doll for a while,
Yeah, the doll's had quite a U.S. tour.
She has. She's been to Las Vegas. She's been to Connecticut, Virginia, Wisconsin, and just to name a few. But we were called to these Paracons to speak and speak about the box. So it was kind of that way. We're going to this coming year. We're probably not taking her anymore. We're gonna get that glass case made, and I'm gonna have the box and the doll all put together and sealed and blessed, never to be removed again, and let this rest. Really pray that, I've got somebody that will assist in a ritual, that if there is a little girl attached to the box, that she move on. And I'm really thinking this through, and because I want it done right. Because if there is a child spirit, then she needs to move on. I'm sure there's family waiting for her somewhere. So I really want to put an end to it once and for all, and let it rest. And then, someday you're going to come to the Fox Museum and you're going to see a picture of Russell and Christy.
And
you're going to be looking at the box. She's going to have her own little case where she will forever be sealed. And I think that's the best thing to do with her. We've never made any money, the adventures that we've done with her. So it's never been for profit. I did dream one night, Russell, that Zach Bagans offered us $1 million for her. I really did. I had that dream. He was like, $1 million. I'll give you.
He must have lost our phone number because we never heard from him.
Yeah, back from him. But yeah, it'll never be sold. It'll always be kept. So
yeah, there's definitely an energy there, and thinking back to the night when we went back, because you told me to put it back where I found it when I first contacted you. Yeah, I did. I went and put it back in the ground, reburied it, even put the rock that we had gathered for our landscape and even put it back over the top of it. We went back, and if you remember that night, we were all out there, and it was dark. It was the back edge of my property, and it was late. I'm not sure specific timing we did this, but I want to say it's close to probably midnight or so that we did this. And when we took that box back out of the ground, everything went silent. We made comments about it because,
Yes.
insects were,
I remember
wind was
that.
blowing, the insects were just going crazy. And all of a sudden, as soon as we uncovered that box and pulled it out of the ground, everything we could hear each other's breath. It got so silent taking that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
that's the
you
power
being.
that's controlling.
I remember Russell saying, "Look, you ain't even got to come and investigate. I'll meet you halfway. I want this box gone. You can have
I'll
it.
bring it
Get
to
rid
you."
of it. I will meet you halfway.
Yeah.
Let's just get rid of this box." And I'm like, "Well, we probably just." Because at the point of time, I was thinking, well, I don't want it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I want this.
Got all this going on, but
All the dolls
I
that
promise
you
Yeah.
it is treated with respect here. Michelle was talking mean to her one day, and I said, "All right, keep on, girl. One of these days, she's gonna get you back." And Michelle said, "Oh, she knows I'm just kidding."
Yeah, we're talking about the Michelle that went shopping for little kids' clothes for the doll.
For
the
Foxy
Foxy,
doll,
yeah.
yeah. Her and Big Ronnie and the
Yeah.
thrift store buying clothes per Rimbon.
Yeah, I remember that.
You just don't buy clothes for Rimbon.
But one thing about the doll.
Hallie watching from Bonifay. I love Florida. I really do.
Yeah.
I was conceived in the state of Florida.
I just want to go to the beach.
Michelle is from Florida.
But what I was saying is one thing, about the doll and everything that you went through with the doll, Russell, and your family, and then everything that we've had to deal with since we took possession of the doll from you. It has brought your family has become part of us, and you guys are in our hearts.
Absolutely.
Thank you. It means a lot. We've had a big family. We've had our family grow over the last couple of years, and we've really found out who would be there for you, and y'all been a part of it, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah, even though we can't physically be there and, help in that way, we've prayed.
Yeah. That's the most important right there.
I read a post. It seemed like it's been about a year ago. And I remember closing Facebook and looking at Michael, and tears were streaming down my cheeks. And I said, we've got to pray for Russell.
Yeah, I remember that.
We got to pray for him right now. I mean, seriously, we've got to get a prayer through. Call Pastor, you got to get a prayer through. We got to do something. This don't feel right. This is not
rough about a year ago.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to, but God is bigger. I say that all the time now. God is bigger. God's bigger.
I've got to, I'll reach over. I'm in my office at work still. But I need to ship y'all some of these for your church. They might be in reverse. I'm not sure how the image is showing up, but I'll pass these little bracelets out that say God is bigger everywhere I go.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
look, to show you that I watch, I remember when y'all first ordered those. Yeah. I remember y'all were talking about it. And I went straight to the internet, and I ordered us some that says Fox Paranormal on them. Y'all gave me the idea to do that too.
Yeah.
So I remember when you first
I've given these out everywhere. I was standing in Times Square. Probably gave out 2,500 or more in Times Square in New York when I was in New York having my cancer treatments. Everywhere I've been speaking, I take these with me. Indiana, all the southeastern states. I haven't kept up with count, but I would guess I'm somewhere around the 10,000 mark on giving these out, and I've never charged for one of them.
Right. Yeah. And going back to the doll a little bit, I don't think it would be safe for just anybody to take her. No. Because of the fact that we do have to have it blessed often. We were actually offered $10,000 for the doll in the box. And we quickly turned that down.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
quickly turned
Yeah.
that down. But tell us briefly about some of the books that you have, and tell people how they can order one of your books if they're interested. They're not
Yeah.
paranormal books, but
No, they're not. They're I am a Christian based fiction and nonfiction writer. I've got 3 books right now, all on the bestseller list. Uh, all of my books can easily be found. If you want to sample some before you put some money into it, follow me on Facebook. I put out almost a daily blog on Facebook of some short stories and things. My most recent book, it's called God is Bigger, and this details the cancer journey that I was speaking about over the last 2 years. And it's not just about cancer. It's the subtitle is the story of hope, faith, and the ability to glorify God while facing any of life's obstacles, including cancer. So, you know, my mountain was cancer the last 2 years, but for a lot of other people, it's depression, alcoholism, it's a number of things. Whatever your mountain is, this book leads you through Scripture into finding ways that makes God bigger than those, and you're able to lay those at His feet and find comfort through them.
Yes.
So that one has been a really, it's been my bestseller so far. It's only been out a few months, and it's already getting close to the numbers that my other books have been to. It's been out for a few years. If you're into the sports thing, I grew up playing sports through high school and everything, and in a small town. And Friday nights in a small town is just unbelievable. If you've never experienced when the football lights come on in a small town, it's something that it's unrivaled in the way it can bring a town together. Don't matter what side you're on, what kind of differences. When those lights come on Friday night, everybody comes together to support that one team, and that's what when the lights go out is about. But it also details something that kids face, teenagers face, and that's decisions that they can make on the spur of the moment that can affect their entire life. And something happens in this book that brings 2 kids together. One is not on a very good road, might not lead to something great for him in the future. And another teenager that's a good influence to him and kind of turns his life around in that book. And something amazing happens at the end of that book. And all my followers have been after me to get the second book of this one out. And I will work on it. I promise. I'm working on it. So they want to know what happens in the college years, because the ending of that book is amazing. It's almost like I didn't write it. It's too good. And the one that kind of hits home the most is Southern Roots. This is a collection of short stories. They're about a 5 to 10 minute read. There's 11 of those stories in there. And it's about growing up, as I did, pretty much on that poverty line in the South. We grew up with not much to our name, and we had to make ends meet the best way we could. And that tells a lot of those hardships, a lot of things we overcame. They're all tied to Scripture. This book is almost like a devotional. It has a short story, a Scripture, and then it tells how it ties that Scripture to the story that I just told. So those are the 3 right now that are the most popular. You can find them pretty much anywhere. Quick Google of Russell Estes and then put books by it. You can get them on the Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Walmart, Target carries them. Pretty much anywhere it's got a book, they're going to carry this. And they are available on Kindle for the e-readers. I'll be coming, I think Pensacola is my next stop, I think. I do have doing a speaking engagement in Winfield, Alabama in 2 weeks, but I think my next out-of-state trip is Pensacola, Florida. So you mentioned you like Florida. We'll be heading down that way here in a couple of weeks to talk about these books.
My family lives there.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I'll be on Seville Square is where I'll be. That's a little historic district there. You probably know all about it.
If you're looking to find some more of Fox Paranormal, look for Michael and Destiny on TikTok. Michael and Destiny Fox at Fox Paranormal 20 22. Yeah, Fox Paranormal 22. We also have a paranormal advertising page that you can go to. It's called Fox Paranormal Advertising. You can advertise your team. You can get likes on your page if you like. Advertise your podcast, anything paranormal. Um, you're welcome to post there. Each post has to be approved, but if it's regarding paranormal, you're going to get approved to post there. Also, check out our page, Fox Paranormal on Facebook. There is another Fox Paranormal, so make sure you see the picture of Michael and myself on the page, and you'll know you're in the right place. Did I leave anything out?
TikTok.
Yeah.
What?
TikTok.
TikTok. Well, I did say TikTok.
Did you?
I think I did.
Yeah, we're on TikTok.
Yeah, we're on TikTok. And I don't know, since we've been doing the live stream podcast, we've went from like 200 over the past week and 2 weeks to a little over 600. Our goal is 1,000. So that way we can bring you guys some cool live videos straight from TikTok. We're going to be going to some history locations, not necessarily paranormal, but we're going to be going to some locations. And if we get that 1,000 and you guys can help, go to Michael and Destiny Fox on TikTok at Fox Paranormal 22. Help us get that 1,000 so that we can bring y'all some good live videos from haunted locations and from some historic places. Maybe even some urban legend places.
Yeah.
Who knows where we're going to be next? Hey, Crossover Paranormal, how are you doing? This has been great tonight. I appreciate Michelle, no stranger to Fox Paranormal, investigating with us many, many years. A good friend of ours. She's always got a place in my heart, and I miss her, and she knows I do. And I bet she'd tell you she misses me too. No? Was that a no?
I do. You know I do. I love y'all.
Just checking. Just checking. Jessica has been having problems with her internet. And so Jessica had to bow out. The last 2 or 3 podcasts is the company that she's got. It's been really bad. She sent me a message and she said, my internet's just not cooperating with me tonight. She did try to join us on this. Jessica is a good investigator. We love having her a part of Fox Paranormal. Our live streams are every Thursday night. We started a little earlier tonight because we had a lot to tell. We had a story to tell. And if you're just tuning in, please go back and rewatch this. It's viewable on W.E.B.B Radio Network. I said it right for a change. And I shared it to Fox Paranormal. So go back and watch it from the beginning. And also be sure to watch on the Hulu channel, Repossessed, season 1, episode 2, and you'll get more of the story of the box that we were talking about tonight. We couldn't tell you a lot about the TV show because it hasn't aired everywhere that it has planned to air, but I think you're going to enjoy the history and the different things about the box that we were not able to share with Russell. Russell, thank you for being on our podcast. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for the invite. Awesome. I enjoyed it.
We'll do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Loved hanging out with you guys tonight.
Oh, we'll do it again. We sure will. And Michelle, absolutely marvelous. See your pretty face again. And we want to give a thank you to our producer, Stan Fikes. He puts all this together for us. And basically all we have to do is just sit in the chair, put in the link that he sends us, and he takes care of the rest. He has the hard work. But we appreciate W.E.B.B Radio Network. And we appreciate Stan and his wife, Teresa, so very much. Without them, we wouldn't be coming to you live tonight from here. But guys, we're going to go, and I appreciate everybody watching. Be sure, hey, you're welcome, Kim. I appreciate you watching. Check out our page again. You never know where we're going to be. Till next week, guys, peace and love.